Hello, welcome to Billy Ho Sports. We're headed down to Tampa Bay Downs for the Sam F. Davis Stakes. It is now a Kentucky Derby prep, has been for a few years now. Race is named after one of the owners, I believe, of the track when it was Florida Downs and Turf Club. But the race does kind of belong to Todd Pletcher. He's won more of these than most any other trainer. He hasn't really been on a dominant run. I think he had last year's winner, and then before that, he kind of trickled in one or two. But they're like from the mid 2000s to the mid teens. There, he was really dominating this race. So the mile and a 16th around the Tampa Bay track will be a two turn. Biggest news coming out of the race, obviously, locked. Todd Pletcher's number one stunner, I guess, so to speak, has come down with a temperature, will be pulled from the race. So he's going to miss his 3-year-old debut. I guess they'll maybe point him, maybe even down the road at the Tampa Bay Derby. I'm not really sure where they'll go from here, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a huge setback, just more precautionary than anything. So Todd Pletcher will still enter a couple of horses that we'll discuss along with the contenders. We got a full field to talk about, and it's a pretty solid field. It's not the best in the world, but not the worst either. This race typically doesn't produce dominant Kentucky Derby contenders. There's been some that have done pretty well, but other than that, not really, where you would point your finger and say Tampa Bay is where the winners are coming from. So don't forget to A, subscribe to the channel, B, hit that like button, C, set the notification bells, and hey, leave a comment, maybe give me your top 3 choices in this race. You could go several different avenues for the Sam F. Davis. So let's get this thing started. So one of the first things I do when I get onto a past performance for a race is I try to check out the track bias stats to see what type of runners are winning these races. So you got 8.5 furlongs and 25 races in the meet totals from 11:22 to date. And it looks like the early speed and the pressing early speed win the most races. But also you can't discount closers. And I'm leaning a little bit more toward closers for this one. The one race so far recently was a closer that won the race, but that's not a big enough sample size to convince me. I just like some of the closers that are in this particular race, and we'll get to them. The first couple of horses, we'll go up here and take a quick look at the top here. And I always like to look at the top. This kind of gives you a good jumping off point where they rate the horses class wise, speed wise, different things. See what the what kind of race we're running here, all the contingencies involved. Uh, El Principito, I'm probably not going to be too big on. Uh, was pretty good. Won first career start and Megan Claimer, but since then the best finish was the 4th in the Pasco Stakes at 99-1. So I'm not feeling El Principito much at all there. So I'll probably toss that one. The other Pletcher entry is Tireless from Repole Stables and St. Elias. It's possible, but this is the less likely of the two Pletcher entries for me. Uh, Switching to a pretty high percentage jockey in Antonio Gallardo, and did win the last race. Been working pretty sharply, so I wouldn't completely count him out, but might just be an also ran here. Number 3, Patriot Spirit, I do have a little interest in. Michael Campbell, Sammy Camacho, debut winner at Colonial, going 7 furlongs, then jumped up to the Iroquois. Grade 3 didn't fare very well there, but that was a pretty solid group of horses, including one going today, West Saratoga. So Patriot Spirit is kind of on that second tier, but has made the jump after backing down to 6 furlongs. So we're stretching back out. So who knows what'll happen stretching back out to a mile and the 16th. So I kind of there, but not quite there yet on Patriot Spirit. Crazy Mason as one I think will be a contender, looking like a one that could close, pressing, stalking style. Broke his maiden by almost 10 lengths at Saratoga. Hit the board in a couple of 100,000 stakes races before dropping to the optional claiming 75K for the win to pick up a check and maybe just to get another stretch out. I like to stretch out to a mile and 40 on the Tampa Bay surface to get the win, which is bodes well for this horse. So I'm not going to say, it was a drop in class. It is a definite move up in class, but I see the reason why they did it. Let's put it that way. But I would consider Crazy Mason a contender. First time Lasix, I do believe, was the off that last race. That was the first Lasix. So sometimes horses respond even better second time around on Lasix. So we shall see. Mark him as a contender. No More Time, Jose D'Angelo, Paco Lopez was an impressive maiden breaker in the second start. Fifth in the Mucho Macho Man, wasn't really in too much contention there. Was a bit rank early on, hopped at the start. So the Mucho Macho Man didn't really turn out that many. I think three of those horses ran in the Holy Bull last week, and none of them ran very well. So it's not like they bounced out of the Mucho Macho Man to take a step forward. So that's another tier 2 type of horse. Agate Road, I will get to a little bit later on, but we'll talk about him real quick. Sired by Quality Road, Ty Pletcher, Jose Ortiz. Second by a nose in his first start down here for 137. Just missed it. His most recent effort was a really good one in the Dania Beach. Lost it by just wasn't able to rally fast enough. Got really stuck in a very slow pace. 25 for the opening quarter, 50 for the half mile, and was closed ground a second, but just was not able to get to Tocayo here. And I remember watching that race. Tocayo was very tough in that race. So no knock on Agate Road. Finally making that switch. Even though the first start was off the turf and it ran second by a nose, but finally making the official switch to turf for Todd Pletcher, and this is what I've been waiting for. I thought maybe they debut him on the dirt, but they went with the Dania. So I think he's ready to make that move. He's a win contender in my book. So I'll be looking hard at that one. Copper Tax is number 7. Won a 50,000 maiden claimer in the second race at Delaware in June, and then ran off 6 straight victories. Boom, 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 boom. 94s, a couple of decent stakes, 100K stakes races that he won, and then tried his hand at the Remsen in the grade 2. Didn't really take to, I think, maybe a combination of the distance and the track conditions, because it was a muddy sealed surface that day, and he just didn't have the speed to keep up with him, basically, is what it amounts to. He ran fairly steady all the way across 6th place in a fast-paced race. That was Dornoch, Sierra Leone, drum roll please, really strong field there. So I think this is a drop-in class, to be honest. But been off for a couple of months, and the trainer's a pretty poorly graded stakes winner, but it could be competitive. So I'm not completely tossing Copper Tax. Ever Do It is Kevin Rice and Hubert Villagomez. So what can we say about him? Got his maiden victory in a second start. Tampa Bay going 2 turns. So that's a plus. Ran another solid second at Tampa, right there at going 6.5, then stretched it back up to a mile and didn't fare well at all in the Mucho Macho Man. So I think we're going to toss Ever Do It. I don't think that like I just knocked Mucho Macho Man for for really being coming out with a fairly poor field. Besides probably Otello, who won the race, but First World War C Streak were pretty decent. Those top three were pretty decent, but the rest of them didn't do well. Change of command, I think, is a contender. Tyler Gaffleone aboard. Shug McGahee. Hopefully he can improve. He didn't really have a great stakes season last year, so hopefully he can get off on the right stride this year. Change of command has been on the improve after 3 starts in New York. Broke his maiden at Gulfstream in December, going 7 furlongs. Last month, he won by a neck as the even money favorite with the first time Lasix, making the jump in class here to stakes competition. So it's a wait and see. I don't know that he's going to be up for the win, but I think would be a good contender. I like the addition of blinkers. Number 10 is West Saratoga, most definite. Larry Demerit and Jesus Castanon, definite contender, the most experienced horse in the field. Earned some points with this Iroquois win, and then I got a point for the Breeders' Futurity. Second by 12, got blitzed by Bookham Dano in the Pasco. So it was kind of like a really just a workout second place. So I don't pay any attention to the 74. When you get beat that badly, you just coast home second. So but the poor second off layoff is not very good, bodes well either. But I think he'll be back up around the high 80s in this race. Maybe not the Iroquois effort, but I think it's going to take a mid 90s to win this race. So West Saratoga would be in the exotics underneath type bets, but a definite contender to say the least. Now, this one, I'm guessing Fulminio, the closer here, is looks like a decent long shot to me. I know he's been beaten by weaker, and the speed ratings are below average. But that was a really super slow time for a closer to try to get to on this optional claimer, and still got up to second. Had the lead at the halfway point, and then just couldn't coast it home. Crazy Mason was the one that caught him, and Crazy Mason is a definite contender. So you got to give maybe just a little bit of outside look. The outside post shouldn't affect him too much being a closer. If he can get back to the chasing a pace rather than trying to get out early like that, I think that he could be picking up the pieces late. Elysian Meadows is another fairly interesting one for Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado aboard. Won both starts at Aqueduct toward the end of the 2-year-old season, now coming in, moving up in class, and facing much stiffer competition, but 20% trainer in graded stakes. So you can't really toss them. Maybe something you use underneath in your third or your superfecta type bets. But that's the last of the contenders. So, like I said, this is a wide open field of 12 contender, and the contenders kind of range for me. I'll mention some of them: Change of Command, Patriot Spirit, Copper Tax, West Saratoga, No More Time. I think all those along there will be somewhere around the first flight, whether they're too wide and then the next two, vice versa, something like that. And then mid pack, I like to see Agate Road and Crazy Mason somewhere around there. I think this race is going to go to a closer, and I think that closer is going to be Agate Road, son of Quality Road. I think he's the horse here. I have mentioned him in anticipation going back a month or two. I think it was even previous to the Dania. So finally making that move to dirt, I think he takes to it, and I think he takes this race. I think he's ready to rip. So it would give Todd Pletcher another Sam F. Davis win. I do also like West Saratoga and Copper Tax to be in the hunt. Like I said, Fulminio hit the board late. So 6 to win, 4, 6, 10 exact the box, something like that is what I got for this race. Best of luck this weekend if you're playing. And until the next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.